Okay, I showed this in a previous video, but when I start off setting up operations on a switching layout, the way I do that is to take a picture of every piece of rolling stock I plan to use on the layout, and then arrange those pictures in a word processing document on my computer, print them out on a sheet of full label paper, which I can then stick to a piece of cardstock. In this case, I just use an old file folder, and then cut out each of those pictures, and now I have a card for each piece of rolling stock I plan to use on the layout. So the second step was to build some racks to hold those car cards, and so I built that using some pieces of strip wood that I had on hand. This was roughly 1/4 inch by 1/2 inch by 24 inches long for the long pieces, and then some 1/8 inch square pieces of strip wood that I used to build separators for each of the cards. And I just glued all that together and clamped it. And then once everything was dried, I went ahead and I spray painted everything a brown color, which is pretty much a match to the stain color that I use on the fascia for the layout itself. And then I just glued the racks to the layout itself, since I didn't really need to use any screws or nails for something as lightweight as holding some car cards. And then I just made sure each of the 2 racks were separated enough so I could easily place and remove the cards on each of the racks. And then I just took some pieces of scrap wood to help hold both racks on at the same time while everything was clamped and drying. And then once that was dried, I went ahead and used a paint marker to label each of the car card slots with a number corresponding to loading bays of the industries, or just generic labels for extra cards, the middle track or the front track of the layout, which don't have defined loading bays. And then once that was all done, everything was pretty much set up for formal operating sessions on the switching layout. Okay, so now I'm ready to do a little operating session here on the 1x6 foot switching layout. And I had my racks for my car cards here set up. So right now I have these picture cards that show, whatever card is in the position that they are on the layout. So this is loading bays 4, 5, and 6. And so I have the respective cards here in positions 4, 5, and 6 on my rack. And then the cards down here represent the cars that are here on this front track. And the 3 that are right here are the ones that are actually currently on the train on the left-hand side of the layout. So I'll do this in different ways. The way that I'm going to do this today is all 3 of these cars that are here on the train have to be spotted, and I'm going to pull 3 cars that are currently already at a spot. For now, just leave these here. I'm going to pull 3 of these 4 cards that are here, or 5 cars that are here, and so what I'm going to do is just pick all these up, just shuffle them randomly here, and then pick the first 3 cards that appear, and then and so those 3 cars will get pulled as part of the switching session, and the other 2 will be left at their spots. And so these are the 3 cars that are getting pulled, and so I will basically keep these here and put those in the middle here, so I don't have to pull those. The 2 cars that are not being pulled and are going to stay at their spots, I will put back in their locations. So I'll put that back in location 4 and this one back in location 6. And then I will take the 3 cars that are on the train, kind of give those a quick little mix. And so then I'll basically place these in the open spots as they appear here. So we will have this arrangement of cars that have to be placed. So 2 of these are staying, and then the 3 cars on the train are getting spotted at these locations at doors 2, 3, and 5. And then it doesn't really matter how I pull these on the train. They can be in any order, or if you wanted to, you can make them have to be in a certain order when you pull them. But I'm just gonna go ahead and just put these here in the middle track slot, since I know these are the 3 I need to have on the train at the end of the switching session. And that'll help me keep track of where everything is supposed to go. Okay, so let's get started. Now these little white beads here you see are actually the heads of pins and that I've pushed into the layout, and those represent the locations where I have under track uncoupling magnets that I can use to uncouple the cars. However, a lot of times I will just use a screwdriver as well, which works really well. The reason why I have the uncoupling magnets is mainly so I don't have to reach into the scenery as much to uncouple the cars. Plus it's a little bit harder sometimes to actually see the couplers if the lighting isn't real good. And so I kind of just go back and forth in terms of what I use. But those kind of denote where I can use the magnets to uncouple the cars if I want to do that. So now I have all the cards set up, and I'll go ahead and proceed with trying to switch out the cars. I'll be doing this a little bit faster than what would be prototypical, but I don't want this video to take an hour either, so I will be running this a little bit faster than I normally would be. And okay, so it happens that 2 of the 3 cars I'm pulling are actually these that are right here, so that's easy enough. And then I have to pull this middle car here. And so what I'm probably going to do first here is just work on the cars that I have to pull off the layout. And so these can just stay here for now. I'm going to push the 3 cars here onto this middle track and then switch out this middle car here of these 3 that are already spotted on the layout. Make sure my switches are aligned here and then progress forward. And just use the magnet to kind of uncouple the cars there. Again, again, that's not prototypical in how you would do it, but again, I'm trying to do this kind of quickly. And then I'm going to switch over here and grab these cars. And what I'll do here with this one, so I don't have to go pull all of them out, to use the magnet, I'll just go ahead and couple on. One problem with having a layout pretty high is it's hard to actually see the couplers in the back there. But anyway, I have this 3rd car uncoupled, and so I can pull out the first 2. And now I'll just go ahead and put this car that I have to pull on this track here in the front. Line my turnouts. Okay, so now the car that goes in the car spot number 5 here is actually this car that's here in the front. And so I'm going to go ahead and grab that one. And use a magnet to uncouple them and just pull these 2 cars out. Now those 2 cars are actually in the order that they need to be for doors 4 and 5. So I can just go ahead and spot those 2 cars by themselves. So this ended up being actually a pretty simple switching operation. The complexity can vary depending on how you sort the cars and deal them out, but in this case it was pretty straightforward. Because I can't see the uncoupler here behind this car, I'm just going to go ahead and pull all of them out a little bit. And then uncouple the cars here. Leave those there for now and push them back in when I have cars 2 and 3, which by chance happen to be these 2 cars here in this exact same order. So again, this is a very short switching operation here, just by chance, and that's kind of the way it works out. You can deal them and resort them, and sometimes in ways that make it kind of more of a puzzle to figure out how you need to do things. But in this case, it's actually pretty straightforward. Still aligned properly here on the turnout. And again, I'm not doing prototypical maneuvers of coupling and what you would normally do. And then I can just spot these 2 cars here at doors 2 and 3, pick up these 3 cars here and take them out, and we are good to go. And then I'll just pull these 3 cars out and the operating session is basically over. But anyway, so you can see, a short operating session. This took about 10 minutes. Normally I'd run it a little bit slower. It would take more like 20 or whatever. But, again, you can decide to pick up 1 car or 2 cars at a time or spot that many. Again, a lot of times I'll just roll a dice to decide how many cars to pick up or put out. Or it might just be the case that I only have 10 minutes, and so I might just do 1 car and swap it out or something like that. But that's how I operate the layouts typically. So it's a fun thing to kind of just do, and you can make it as short or as long as you want, based on how many cars you have to move and swap out. But this is an easy way to spend between 10 and 30 minutes before or after work or whatever. And it's a fun thing to do. I don't usually do switching lists or things like that where it's a little more complicated. You're trying to read car numbers or whatever. But and again, I have all of my cars on the layout unique in color or road name, and so they're very easy to identify which car is which. And so, so I'm not trying to read numbers and that kind of thing to determine which car is what. And so it makes it really easy visually to see the pictures here and where they have to go and that kind of thing. And so it's not, it's not hard or complicated to figure out, and you're not spending a lot of time trying to figure out what car is what and lose track of where they are in the layout. So anyway, that's how I operate the switching layout. Hope you enjoyed the video, and thanks for watching. Bye.